Hey Narwhals, I'm your host Luke Narwhal, and today we'll be reading a post from r/lose it. In the post, she shares the secret to weight loss success at the end, but it's probably not what you think. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more weight loss stories that help you stay on track. What I wish I knew back then. I've been a long-time lurker on this sub, but I've never felt that I ever had anything particularly useful or groundbreaking to add, and for the most part, this still rings true. For whatever reason, I find myself in a bit of a reflective mood tonight, and for once I thought I'd write my thoughts down for others to see, instead of having them float around in my head. To start, I've always been fat. I started as the cute, mildly chubby child, to the overweight teen, to the morbidly obese young adult. My extra weight was a security blanket of sorts, wrapped around my bones and draping over my body, shielding me from hurt, embarrassment, and failure. You see, I always knew that being fat was something shameful, a sign of my own internal weaknesses. It was a bright neon sign that broadcasted my shortcomings to all that could see. I knew that no one would want me, a shy, quiet girl with a soft voice and rolls of pale, translucent skin that ebbed and flowed across my body. From the valleys of my love handles, an irony really, to the dimples behind my knees. I was not the slight, carefree girl with the long hair and limbs, or the sassy, curvaceous woman with the sparkling wit and humor. I was the anomaly of my friend group, the quiet and pensive one with the good ear for listening to others' relationship problems. My weight grounded me, the gravity of my perceived mass tethering me from perusing my own romantic pursuits. Who would want me when they saw my thinner and more charismatic friends? As I left adolescence and went quietly into adulthood, I tried various methods to shed this weight that held me down. You see, once I got to my goal weight, my romantic life could finally start. It seemed totally implausible that a guy could ever like me, let alone love me. A fat chick, a butterface, a land whale. I sat in overly air-conditioned rooms, listening to 60-something women kvetch about their daily points allotment as the newest iterations of Weight Watchers were rolled out. I endured the aggressively helpful GNC sales associate as I bought various Quest bars and protein powders whenever I decided to jump back on the keto diet bandwagon. It never lasted longer than a couple of months before the siren song of carbs proved to be too much for my willpower to withstand. I stood in the back of a dark, humid studio surrounded by mirrors that broadcasted my ruddy face and baggy t-shirted self bumbling around surrounded by little women in pricey spandex. I wasn't completely hopeless at weight loss. I'd lose 20 or 30 or 40 pounds before something would happen to upset my quiet life's equilibrium, and then I'd fall back into my bad habits of binge eating as a way to soothe my feelings. As the number on the scale creeped upwards, it further crushed my self-esteem and motivation. It was this awful reminder that I'd never be worthy of another's attention or affection. As the years went by, I became less and less hopeful that my life would ever really start. I'd log on to Facebook and Instagram to see the vacations, engagements, and marriages of my peers and be filled with both envy and depression. By now, I had gotten to my mid-20s and had never even held hands with a guy, let alone get my first kiss or go on a date. I was a complete failure to launch, relationship-wise, and this was my own doing. My own complete lack of self-worth and confidence prevented me from ever attempting to chat with men or ask one out. The mere thought would cause my stomach to curdle with terror. It was as if I'd crossed some line in the sand. I was no longer a shy, late bloomer, but some sort of odd social misfit with a permanent black mark on my non-existent relationship record. I resigned myself to my own self-prescribed fate and focused my attention on more professional pursuits. I kicked academic butt in undergrad and graduate school and have a fulfilling, both emotionally and financially, career in medicine to show for it. Between my job, a salary, and academic pedigree, I like to joke that I looked great on paper, just not in person. As I entered into my late 20s, I no longer had the distractions of school or clinical rotations or board exams to fill my lonely nights and weekends. I just worked a lot and spent time with my friends and family, brushing off well-meaning inquiries into my romantic life. I can't recall what exactly caused my thoughts to shift or possessed me to decide to do a test run on an online dating site one late night after several glasses of wine and enthusiastic applause from my best friend. I think my loneliness had finally eclipsed my contentment with my quiet and uneventful single existence. It doesn't really matter anymore, I suppose. It was easy enough to write a profile. I was well-read, well-traveled, and my enduring singleness had given me ample opportunities to pursue various hobbies and interests. I cringed at picking pictures to include in my profile. It was hard to find the balance between a flattering angle and visual subterfuge. I half-heartedly clicked submit and was at first pleasantly surprised to find myself the recipient of many messages, all of which were some variation of "Hey, what's up?" and lacking any sort of sincere intent to getting to know me. This quickly grew old, and I debated deleting the profile after less than a week, but there was one message that stood out, mostly due to its length and correct grammar. He was a local musician, nearly the same age as me. We had no mutual friends or common local haunts, but he seemed smart and interesting, so when he asked me out for a drink that weekend, I agreed. What did I have to lose, really? I spent the remaining days leading up to our first date selecting and rejecting approximately 73 different outfits. I experimented with my hair and various makeup looks. Saturday finally rolled around, ushering in a wave of oppressive humidity and dark storm clouds that made my skin perspire and my hair frizz in a halo around my head. I finally said frigate and went to meet him in my well-worn jean cutoffs and a t-shirt, my hair tied up at the crown of my head and my face free of makeup. It would have slid off my face as I sweated in the steamy subway car and then walked the half mile to our predetermined meeting spot, a newish bar nestled on a busy street in the city. Besides, I had envisioned this meeting as more of a social experiment than anything, a dress rehearsal before my real dating started as a thinner version of my current self. So in my mind, it didn't really matter how I looked that afternoon. I just prayed that he wouldn't catch sight of me and have his smile falter or seem too disappointed. I never entertained the thought that our date would lead to anything more than an hour's worth of stilted conversation and maybe an awkward hug at the end. I weighed 255 pounds that day, the heaviest I'd ever been. He was tall, with long arms and legs. His button shirt fell over a flat stomach and was tucked neatly into khaki pants. His dark hair was in need of a trim, revealing that he'd have curls if he grew it any longer. He had brown eyes, behind thick, trendy plastic-rimmed glasses, and white, even teeth when he smiled at me. My stomach dropped out from beneath me as I mustered up every ounce of social grace and charisma in my body to introduce myself and shake his hand. Or was I supposed to hug him? My professional courtesies emerged as my thoughts scattered. He divulged that he was starving. He'd been running late and had skipped lunch, and asked if I'd mind if we grabbed a quick bite to eat before getting drinks. I agreed, and we ventured to a small cafe down the street. I picked at a small salad and focused on maintaining eye contact while we introduced ourselves and made small talk. We got caught in a downpour walking back to the bar, our original date location, and huddled together under a shop's awning, as I tried not to think about what my hair must have looked like. The rain eventually tapered off, and we made our way back to the bar, where he paid for my drink. The alcohol and our fledgling familiarity with each other loosened our tongues, making the next 2 hours fly by. I kept waiting for him to see the time and realized that he'd spent his late afternoon and early evening with me, a fat chick, and come up with an excuse to leave me with some vague promise to meet up again at some indeterminate point in the future. But he asked me to walk with him down the road to get a proper dinner instead. I agreed, of course. He finally walked me to my subway stop 6 hours after our date started, stopping to tell me that he'd had a great time and asking if I wanted to go out next weekend. Attempting to maintain an air of nonchalance, I said that I'd be down for another date. He smiled and leaned down to hug me goodbye. As my palms met with his sweat-soaked back, I felt him place a quick kiss on my forehead before stepping away to walk towards his own bus stop. I think I floated down the steps to the train platform. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop when he realized just who he was seeing, but he never did. He was just as kind, thoughtful, funny, and smart. I got my first kiss on our second date, sitting under a tree in a local park. My second, third, fourth, and 17th kisses came in a flurry as we wandered around the various trails, ducking under branches and around trees. He kept asking if I would go on another date, week after week, and I kept saying yes. I let him see me, all of me, little by little. His hands drifted over parts of me that I'd kept to myself, out of reach of others or even sunlight. He never shuddered or made cutting remarks as he saw or touched my rolls of skin with their scattered stretch marks. He'd whisper that I was beautiful as he kissed my cheek and we joined together. My social experiment and test run date had somehow grown and shifted into a full-fledged relationship. He introduced me to his friends and held my hand when we walked in public. I wasn't a shameful secret or joke, which is what I feared in the beginning, without any merit, I may add. As our relationship progressed over the months, I introduced him to my own family and social circles. We eventually flew across the country so that he could introduce me to his parents. We've been together for over a year now. It's strange. I have a hard time envisioning what my life was like before him now. I no longer have empty weekends or long boring nights to spend by myself, tucked in bed with a book to keep me company. I still weigh more than him. He still has never criticized my body. He tells me that I look pretty as I get dressed in the morning. It doesn't matter if I'm in professional clothes or yoga pants. He isn't perfect himself. He'd be the first person to tell you that, but I think he's pretty damn close. Do you want to know what's ironic? Since I've met him, I've lost 60 pounds. I'm happier. I stopped binging a long time ago. We spent our weekends hiking and exploring new places. I cooked dinner with him instead of getting takeout. I mentioned that I wanted to start running, so he volunteered to go running with me every weekend. He always tells me that he loves me for who I am, and that I don't have to lose any weight for him, but he supports me in my own efforts to improve my health and fitness, and comforts me when I run into challenges or failures. I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self that she mattered, and that she could matter to another person too. Fatness be damned. I wished I hadn't wasted so many years putting off starting my romantic life because I felt that I needed to be thin in order to find a partner. I hope that others who were like me can see this and get the courage to put themselves out there. I know there's crappy and shallow people out there, believe me, I've met quite a few of them over the years, but there are good and decent ones out there too. Others that will see you for who you are, not what size clothes you wear or what the scale says. I still have a long way to go on my weight loss journey, and the thought that I would have missed meeting this wonderful man if I kept with my original plans to defer dating until I was thin enough takes my breath away. I don't mean to be preachy or moralizing, I just hope that sharing my own experience gives a little courage or hope to others who are like me, waiting for a number on the scale to tell them when they could finally start living. Too long didn't read. I spent my entire adolescence and most of my 20s believing I wasn't worthy of a romantic relationship because I was too fat. My loneliness finally got the better of me in my late 20s, and I joined an online dating site on a whim. At my heaviest weight, I ended up meeting a wonderful guy who treats me well and loves me for who I am. Fatness be damned. I found out that the secret to my weight loss success was being happy and comfortable in my own skin. And that brings us to the featured narwhals of the day from our subreddit. Our subreddit is a place to share pictures, ask questions, and get support on your weight loss journey. To join, just open the description below and click the top link. Click Use App, install the Reddit app, create an account, and then click Join once you're at our subreddit. We'd love to have you join us on the subreddit. Once again, the link is below. 1QAZ says, male 22, 5'6", lost 48 pounds, starting weight 191, down to 143 in 8 months. Keck says, finally brave enough to post another side-by-side. Weights and dates at the bottom. Still plenty to go, but I think I might be able to see some changes finally. If nothing else, my clothes are getting too big. Trippy Ariel says, just came back from a run, took this pic and thought that maybe this will motivate someone. Love this journey. Thanks for sharing featured narwhals. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more weight loss stories that help you stay on track. Thanks for watching narwhals, and I'll see you in the next one.